Don't leave your broken heart at the door. Bring it to the altar of life. Don't leave your anger behind. It has high standards, and the world needs vision. Bring them with you and your joy and your passion. Bring your loving and your courage and your conviction. Bring your need for healing and your power to heal. There is work to do, and we have all we need to do it right here in this room. May the love we claim as ultimate reality bless this gathering and those gathered here. I woke up this morning in my mind, and it was that day of freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind, and it was that day of freedom. Hallelujah, hallelujah.
Good morning to everyone. Rebecca Solnit, a writer based in San Francisco, writes on a variety of topics, feminism, politics, the environment, and she posted the message I'm about to read on Facebook on Wednesday evening after the announcement of Donald Trump's victory. They want you to feel powerless and to surrender and to let them trample everything. And you are not going to let them. You are not giving up, and neither am I. The fact that we cannot save everything does not mean we cannot save anything. And everything we can save is worth saving. You may need to grieve or scream or take time off, but you have a role no matter what. And right now, good friends and good principles are worth gathering in. Remember what you love. Remember what loves you. Remember, in this tide of hate, what love is. The pain you feel is because of what you love. The Wobblies used to say, don't mourn, organize. But you can do both at once, and you don't have to organize right away in this moment of furious mourning. You can be heartbroken or furious or both at once. You can scream in your car or on a cliff. You can also get up tomorrow and water the flower pots and call someone who's upset and check your equipment for going onward. A lot of us are going to come under direct attack, and a lot of us are going to resist by building solidarity and sanctuary. Gather up your resources, the metaphysical ones that are heart and soul and care, as well as the practical ones. People kept faith in the dictatorships of South America in the 1970s and 1980s, in the Eastern Bloc countries and the USSR. Women are protesting right now in Iran, and people there are writing poetry. There is no alternative to persevering, and that does not require you to feel good. You can keep walking whether it's sunny or raining. Take care of yourself and remember that taking care of something else is an important part of taking care of yourself. Because you are interwoven with the 10 trillion things in this single garment of destiny that has been stained and torn, but is still being woven and mended and washed.
I want to formally welcome all of you, whether you are a veteran in this congregation or new among us. I think you can already get a sense of where you are and who we are.
I will lift you up when they push you down. I will raise my voice I'm gonna walk it with. I'm gonna walk it with. I'm gonna walk it with. I'm gonna walk it with.
Well, I was here with you on November 8th, 2016. Here we are again, only worse this time. We've been explicitly promised an agenda whose details I don't need to outline for you. I just want to validate and affirm what we all know. This agenda is repressive, hateful, harmful, regressive, destructive. And this time, the agenda comes with no guardrails whatsoever. There will be no purging of the disloyal in this Trump administration because there will be none disloyal to him allowed positions in the administration. Despite his criminality, despite his incitement to riot and to violence, despite his dismantling of protections for the earth and many of her people, despite his formal encouragement of hatred and racism, despite his announcing plans to destroy lives, the majority of the American people who voted have chosen this agenda and this leader. It is not just what he vows that we find justifiably disturbing, but the way he has communicated those commitments with belligerence and threats, insults, and flagrant indecency. Vice President-elect J.D. Vance is also consistently hostile and demonizes anyone whose life does not conform to his extreme far-right fundamentalist Christian framework. We know who he is, too. And so the question, how, as you've already heard us voice here, is the one that I have heard most people ask in the past days, coming to me as a minister and as a friend. How can so many people be so callous or have their head in the sand or stupid or irresponsible, etc.? How can people I know and like support all of this? Do I need to be in relationship with them? You do not have to be in relationship with anyone you deem harmful to your well-being or your children's well-being. And that's a choice only you can make. However, if you've had some pressure that family loyalty or friendship of many years should matter more than politics, I join you in not comprehending or accepting that position. I don't get it. Because politics dictate the way our world gets run. So if your friends or family members can't see or accept that their choices in the voting booth have a direct impact on real lives, on the infrastructure of business, education, commerce, food production, healthcare, on the environment, on civil rights, they have some work to do figuring that out. And you don't have to do that work for them or with them. Many of them are in denial. There's that. Some people are single-issue voters. They don't really look at more than one thing. Many of them think that they will benefit from policies that will ultimately harm them. And there's this meme that says, you know, when the leopards eat your face. What is it? Have you heard this one? Yeah.
Yeah, the leopards eating faces party.
Yeah.
I didn't think they'd eat my face.
I didn't think they'd eat my face. Yeah, exactly. You're not anybody's private tutor or confessor unless you want to be, unless you want to be in that educational position in people's lives. You can love people and hold boundaries at the same time while turning your attention and energy to other forms of engagement than debating or ministering to those who do not see that all things are interconnected. You're not ruining anything or being judgmental or cruel by expecting the people in your life to consider the implications of their choices and how that squares with your life and your moral values. Do not, my dears, allow yourself to be manipulated out of your integrity. At the end of the day, it's your conscience to which you must answer, not seeming nice or seeming accepting in the eyes of those whose demonstrated values oppose the common good. Last week in this sanctuary, we dedicated an adorable baby boy to our free faith. And among other things, we charged his parents to remember that he's not a human being having a spiritual experience. He's a spiritual being having a human experience. And Reverend Chris, who was doing that dedication with me and with all of us, charged his parents to remember that Charlie will have to face the world as it is, with its brokenness, ugliness, and injustice that are part of it, and to make his place among those who would work towards a world of love, compassion, and equity. Those are our religious values. So today, and for now, we're sitting with the brokenness, aren't we? That's a really somber place to be. I loved that anthem so much because it was just a reminder that, like, oh, by the way, human communities have been through all kinds of things before and always will, and I'm going to walk it with you. Thank you for choosing that one. Thank you for singing it. Sitting in that somber place is a place and condition that many people have been in before and are in today. They are living in full awareness and encounter with the depravity of our species. We don't really like to look at the shadow side of the human species. This creates tremendous stress, a trauma response. And this is why this past week you may have been doing things like putting your laundry in the machine and forgetting to add the detergent, or why when you consider the myriad things, crises that are going to be upon us when deregulation hits everything and all of the other promises are implemented, you just, like, your brain fritzes out. I couldn't remember what the FDIC stood for. I couldn't remember what RFK stood for. And I'm not sure I really want to think about that too much. While we absorb difficult realities as best we can also remember other realities that are conducive to life and to resiliency. We are not going to do this alone. We are here, and you are not personally going to do this alone. Collectively, we're a small congregation, but we are part of a coalition that educates and trains local people to object, to fight, to show up, to resist. It's called ECHO. And it stands for the Essex County Community Organization. This is just one of our many partners. Again, we are not alone. And I wanted to let you know that ECHO will definitely need to be talking and setting priorities, and they will be meeting, and I invite everyone to join them on Tuesday night at the First Church in Swampscott at 6 p.m. to discuss next steps. In 2016 to 2020, from 2016 to 2020, ECHO was very active in resistance to the Trump deportation machine. And this congregation dedicated itself to learning a lot about immigration policy and about sanctuary for those under threat of deportation. In May of 2019, we took a congregational vote to approve use of this building to provide sanctuary to someone or someone's being threatened in that way. The deportation machine is going to start up again, full force, in January of 2025, or so we have been promised, if you will. And although Governor Healy has assured us that the state police will not be mobilized to serve the terrorization of our neighbors, she has limited authority. Perhaps our groundwork undertaken from 2016 to 2019 will prove more valuable than we knew at the time. Tragically relevant now. God, we had no idea what was coming in 2019, did we? Gay, transgender, lesbian individuals and their children are rightfully worried for their civil rights and for marriage equality. Here, too, we have a strong history of showing up, advocating, fighting, protecting, speaking from our faith tradition's theological certainty that love is love is love. And what God hath made and God hath joined, let no one insult, exclude, persecute, or put asunder. As a single woman, a spinster, and I claim that, who has been dating casually with great ambivalence for literally decades, I have had a front row seat to the rise of virulent misogyny in this country. Let me say in short that many, many American men are enraged that women are doing so well for ourselves academically, professionally, personally. There is a lot more that I could report about this, and perhaps I'll offer a forum on it, because I do think we need to be more aware. We need to know for our sons and male-identifying children too, who may be radicalized by this toxic masculinity movement. And it's a movement. Those high school boys in Michigan the other day who were surrounding their female classmates chanting, "Your body, my choice," were not outliers. I know. This is what I have been paying very close attention to, and I would love to be able to spare you this reality. But it's very, very real, and it's very, very powerful. We could continue this kind of analysis all day, right? There's a lot. But let me return to that question of how, again, I can't wrap my head around. Someone said the other day, that a member of this congregation, that she had a conversation with someone that she'd been friendly with, who she said was happy with the results of the election. And when she questioned this woman, she said to her, apart from like everything else and all his policies, don't you care about women's reproductive rights and freedoms? And this woman responded, I'm too old to care anymore, and my daughter had a hysterectomy, so. Okay, so that's it right there, this lack of understanding that we are ultimately interdependent, and we can't just be me and mine. That's a common form of ignorance. It's a very dangerous one. You doing okay? Because I have a little bit more. I have some more. Okay, all right. I was like, I tried, you know what I mean? I have a lot that I wanted to share with you. Thank you. Alice Walker, African-American author and teacher, said something in an interview in response to a question about empathy. And this was in Seattle some years ago. And she was asked about the idea that some people don't experience empathy and they don't have a conscience that bothers them when they're treating people extremely badly or when they hear about that. And she said, and the interviewer asked, how do progressives deal with that? How do we relate to knowing that? And Alice Walker said, you relate to it by being honest. We're sitting back thinking that every single person has a conscience if you could just reach it. Why should we believe that? I mean, what would make you actually believe that? Certainly not the history of the world as we know it. So it's about trying to understand the history of the world, how it's been shaped, and by whom and for what purposes. Wow. Now that's a wisdom word. Theologically, we call this sin. And religious liberals don't talk a whole lot about sin. We have historically, at least since the 19th century, very much focused on and really promoted the idea that the human race is morally improvable and is always evolving in a positive direction, onward and upward, as a 19th century Unitarian slogan went. Well, we have to divest ourselves of those assumptions, I think. I think it helps to just say, let's look at reality. You cannot drive your car around a wild, unexpected curve in the road without paying very close attention to what you're doing, or you're going to skid right off that road. We are in a curve. Those of us who maintain that very positive view of human moral evolution, I'm about to go off the road, but we're not going to skid off the road. We have clear moral commitments and a clear mission, and we will want to clarify our mission in coming weeks. All hands on deck for that. We have spiritual practices of prayer, worship, fellowship, hospitality, deep listening, which we do through actual programs, generosity, meditation, singing, crafting, stewardship of the earth, nurturing of children to have open minds and open hearts, compassionate presence, social justice activism grounded in faith, and organizing. And all of those things, did you really get that list? Really hear it? Singing, crafting, fellowship, hospitality, all of these acts of decency that we really cannot and should not ever take for granted. Your prayer, meditation, your listening to each other in dialogue group, in meetings. All of these practices will guide and ground us through this moment as they have grounded and guided previous generations. These practices are essential, and they are nonviolent, creative, humanizing activities that strengthen our integrity and our capacity to love. So if you've ever considered these practices in a kind of a casual way, please consider making them more serious and central in your life and in your schedule. You will need them. We will need them. In the ancient Near East, when people wore long tunics, when everybody wore long tunics every day as their, garment, they needed to lift that skirt up and tuck it into their belts or girdles, which is what they wore around their waist. If they wanted to do work in the fields, if they wanted to go into battle, or to give birth. This is the origin of the phrase, gird your loins. And so I say to you today, gird your loins. What is coming will be distressing and disturbing, and therefore preserving, protecting, and respecting all that will be dismantled and attacked, and it will be a lot, will require our full attention, our full efforts, and our full facing of reality. Barry Lopez, the naturalist, in his book Embrace Fearlessly the Burning World, which Mary Gatlin gifted to me recently, and thank you so much because it's been a gem, says, you must at the very least establish a truce with reality. We know what we will not accept. We know that to which we are called. We know that we can and will go on. This world is just a little place, just the red in the sky before the sun rises. So let us keep fast hold of hands, that when the birds begin, none of us be missing.